Ladies and gentlemen, how did our right to travel in nature get classified as a property of DVLA, such as the driver's license, which is then sold to us by fraud of inducement? It is then regulated under what is a statutory instrument called the Road Traffic Act. Ladies and gentlemen, in the first instance, the Road Traffic Act is a statutory instrument. Now, Google is the place where people nowadays go to find information. So here it is, stated here, yes, the Road Traffic Act is a statute, an act of Parliament. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, common law and statute law are not the same. And for clarity, once again, Google is providing the information. Common law and statute law are not the same. Ladies and gentlemen, the Moorish Society does not do idle talk. When we come onto this YouTube platform, we produce our proof for everything that we say. We want to be making it absolutely 100% proof clear to the general public that the United Kingdom is a common law jurisdiction, not statutory law. Common law jurisdiction. And just so we're absolutely clear about this, ladies and gentlemen, this is Google providing the information. Yes, England, Wales, Northern Ireland are common law jurisdictions, not statute law, common law jurisdictions, ladies and gentlemen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've just proven that the Road Traffic Act is statutory legislation, not common law, statutory legislation. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to point out to the public the fraud by inducements that's being perpetrated against the citizens of this realm. So this is 164 of the Road Traffic Act. At section 6, it states a person required under the preceding provisions of this section to produce a license fails to do so is guilty of an offence. So as you can clearly see there, it states you are guilty of an offence. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just proven to you that the Road Traffic Act is a statutory instrument. A statutory instrument that you can search for yourself on Google. Now, ladies and gentlemen, whenever a police constable stops you in your motor vehicle and demands that you provide them your license, and you fail to do so, and that constable tells you, if you do not provide your license, you are committing an offence under the Road Traffic Act, and then proceeds to take your motor vehicle or seize your motor vehicle, ladies and gentlemen, that police constable is unconstitutional, unlawful, and committing fraud. The reasons for that, ladies and gentlemen, is because he's not enforcing law. He's enforcing a statutory instrument, as we've just proven. We have proven to you that the Road Traffic Act is a statutory instrument, not law. It is not law within the common law jurisdiction. And we have proven to you, ladies and gentlemen, that the United Kingdom is a common law jurisdiction. Common law jurisdiction. So when this police constable states to you, you are committing an offence under the Road Traffic Act. He's enforcing the Road Traffic Act, ladies and gentlemen, not law. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, under subsection 164 of the Road Traffic Act, it does not categorize or classify the offence. It just simply states you are committing an offence. Now, if I say you're committing an offence, that is neither here or there. Ladies and gentlemen, if I tell you you are committing an offence without classifying or categorising the common law jurisdiction under which that offence is being committed, that is not law. It's neither here or there. To just simply state you're committing an offence. And that's exactly what the Road Traffic Act does. Because it's not law, ladies and gentlemen, it is a statutory instrument. And the United Kingdom is common law jurisdiction, not statute law. Statutory legislation does not apply to members of the public. So what they've done, ladies and gentlemen, is taken your natural God-given right to travel anywhere on this earth. They have regulated it, got you to buy the license from the agent DVLA, and then have a police constable stop you on the street and demand that you provide the license that you have paid for, but does not belong to you, belongs to DVLA, but you have paid for it. The police have demanded it from you, and if you do not produce it, they tell you that you're committing an offence, but fail to categorise or classify the offence under the common law jurisdiction of the United Kingdom. What is that, ladies and gentlemen? That is fraud, unconstitutional and unlawful. So, ladies and gentlemen, just for clarification, these people who we have voted for are in Parliament creating a statutory instrument which regulates your natural right to travel freely upon this land. They have got you, by inducement, to buy a license from DVLA. That does not belong to you, it belongs to DVLA. And they've got you to buy it from them. And then the police stops you on the streets and demands it from you. And if you do not provide them with it, they take your motor vehicle that you have spent your hard-earned money to buy and seize it. What is that, ladies and gentlemen? What is that? That is fraud, unlawful, unconstitutional acts. It's criminal. And if I had my way, I would order the army to go and surround Parliament and arrest every single one of these people. Because they're in there doing no good, but serving the interest of these private corporations or self-interest. To sell you, the public, a license and then demand it from you. And if you do not produce it, they're prepared to seize your property. It's criminal, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be any more clear than what we already have been in this post. It's unacceptable that we are forced to pay for a license And then the police demands it from us. And if we do not produce it, they're able to seize our property, ladies and gentlemen. And it's evidently clear in the Road Traffic Act that the violation of law or the classification of law is not identified. It simply states you're committing an offence. Now that is neither here or there. To simply state you're committing an offence is not law. It is not law, ladies and gentlemen. And I am a law student with over 8 years judicial experience and knowledge. We don't care who these people think they are, ladies and gentlemen. These people have committed despicable crimes against me and my children, and then denying us access to justice. The police have stolen our motor vehicles and carried out violent criminal acts, entering into our properties without lawful authority and searching it and carrying out violence, detaining me, arresting me for no reasons whatsoever. And then this child welfare criminal entity in Birmingham who has carried out a criminal abduction of my children, conspiring with the judiciary. What on earth is going on in the United Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen? We got anarchy here, not law. The public bodies who are charged with the governance of this country and our welfare are acting like the common thief on the streets, the common criminals on the streets, and are abusing their authority, using state powers for unlawful purposes. And as a result, ladies and gentlemen, the public are being injured by their actions. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's little wonder we've got so much unrest in the United Kingdom, and it will only get worse. The fact of the matter is, we are not going to tolerate people who are in authority carrying out very serious crimes against our children and then deny us access to justice, to suppress their criminal acts. We will respond, and we will not hesitate when it comes to our children. And so we want to make it absolutely clear on this platform that the Road Traffic Act is not law. It's a commercial instrument where these people are practicing anarchy by fraud, getting you to pay for a license that you don't need, and then demand it from you, ladies and gentlemen. And if you do not produce it to them, they then seize your property. Give your property to another private corporation, and then not only do you have to pay insurance or buy a license, you now have to pay that private company to release your motor vehicle from the impound. These people are fleecing the public left, right and centre, ladies and gentlemen, under this act. Fleecing the public. So, ladies and gentlemen, we cannot be no more clear than we have been in this post. We are the Moorish Society.